Yo guys, this is Jared, aka the Saint of Sims on PSN, coming back at you with some newly released MLB 13 The Show online ranked gameplay featuring the Houston Astros at the Philadelphia Phillies. And sing with me, my children, what a glorious and refreshing breath of change this is! A new year, a new system, and a new functioning baseball game. It feels oh so good. Don't mind the stains on the corner of your screen. I just jizzed a little. It's okay. It's natural and in some cultures actually kind of encouraged. But sit back, relax, and enjoy some true simulation style baseball as my opponent and I duel it out on the mound with Bud Norris and Roy Halladay. Right off the bat, the first big difference that you may have noticed in this video is that my opponent set up rules by which we are playing by. We're on all-star difficulty for pitching, batting, and fielding. Strike zones and hot zones are all off. We're on meter pitching because fuck all that other shit. Analog pitching? That's just a silly gimmick that fails to capture what 2K does with its controls. Pulse pitching? Pfft, that's for pussies. I'm a man, and I want full control over my pitch selection, locations, and velocity. Meter pitching provides me all of these options, whereas the others, well, maybe Analog does this fairly well, but Pulse is a featured control set that doesn't. As a matter of fact, I'd say if you're on Pulse, then you're hurting your ability to get better at the game. But on the flip side, and this is a point I can get muddled in, is my hitting options. I'm rocking timing. I think the reason I feel this one is the more challenging option is that the batter's eye isn't going to be fully accurate. But then again, if this is like MLB 10, the batter's eye might not even matter, which means I'm playing on a weaker setting. It's really open to testing to find out how challenging it can be. The relevance of all of this? Just to simply showcase how much more competitive the feel of online play is for the show versus the field of play that was found on 2K. Here you're seeing two competent and fairly skilled players battling on a hard difficulty set, which is going to reflect in the box score. Compare this to 2K, which is a mixed bag of good and bad players all settling on predetermined settings, but the difference of skill involved there is knowledge of the exploits. No such knowledge need pertain here. Sure, if the batter's eye is broken and you can just focus on pure timing, that's considered an exploit, but it's not a noticeably advantageous one. The reason for that? Not every swing, based upon good to perfect timing, will result in a hit. But missing your locations, especially against Ryan Howard, can and will result in a hit. Should have been playing in the extreme shift. But that's okay. Early innings are usually players filling each other out, gauging tendencies, and learning patterns. I have already started to pick up on my opponent's tendencies of being heavily reliant upon the curveball and the dirt. I'm obviously susceptible to it. And I'm obviously getting outplayed on this play. He really set Howard in motion so he could pull the shortstop out of position in hopes of any soft grounders to the left side, resulting in a hit, huh? Risky play calling, but I like it. This guy's got balls. So now I've got to work out of a jam, huh? Fair enough. But one thing I'm not fond of about this dude, his impatience and twitch need to do something. Oh boy. Maybe his impatience saves me 3 runs here, because that's a loud screamer of an out at the track instead of a souvenir finding its way to a seat. And wait, we're really going to double this guy up at first? Okay! I'm not one to complain when people hand me favors at their own leisure, but I can't help but comment about how dude was showing bunt like he'd actually suicide squeeze Howard home. I'm not going to bite on that even if this were the 8th inning. You're not demonstrating enough strength in your bunt game to get me scared. And faster than Justin Timberlake can expose Janet Jackson's bare tit to the world, I erase a no-out runners on the corner jam with no run scratching across the plate. You know this is going to be a battle. You strapped in and ready to roll for 9 innings of a scrappy dogfight that would have Mike Vick convicted just by loose association? Because this one's a tight one. Not Pocahontas Jones tight, because Lord only knows when the last time that was even sealed up for an afternoon. We're talking vacuum sealed plastic casing for your brand new controller tight. You know what I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't know. So, bottom of the third, we're going to 1-2 slider inside on Eric Kratz, fails to get him to flail at it hopelessly. Unfortunately, I go back to the well once too often as he's sitting dead right on the low and away pitch, which he rips to shallow left center for a single. That was a poor at-bat on my part as I didn't change up his eye levels enough and my locations were too predictable. But again, his impatience kind of skews in my favor as he skies a 2-1 low and away pitch to deep center field with Roy Halladay. No advancement on that play, which means I'll be working with a runner on first with 1 out against Jimmy Rollins instead of having a runner in scoring position. It's little things like that that make or break a game. Another lot out to the outfield and I'm already eyeing this as a quiet inning defensively. All I've got to do is mow down Chase Utley and we walk out of this inning with another goose egg placed up on the scoreboards. Given that my opponent has a solid eye at the plate, I'm looking to extend the strike zone any way that I can, hoping to live out on the black. If I can stretch the umpire's strike zone, then I should be able to stretch out my opponent's strike zone with it. Anything to crack his patient eye and get him a bit more swing happy. After all, he's already got me confused on the break of his curveball. It's only fair that I figure out a way to trick him to take the bat off his shoulder more, or get the favorable calls on the black. He gone! Sit your BP oil spill causing greased out monkey ass the fuck down, Utley! Grade A douchebag! Go soak your knees in a tub of Bengay, you cunt! Where was I? Oh, right! Altuve kicks off the fourth with a leadoff single to right, but immediately gets picked off while sleeping on a large leadoff at first. Not knowing the buttons in this first game back to the show has really hurt me. It also doesn't help that I fell asleep on the controls in trying to get him back. My twitch reactions to retreat were sluggish on this play. Good play on my opponent to notice the large lead and time it so I'd actually forget about my own runner. Maybe Swami should be taking notes on how a proper pickoff attempt is done. Once, and only when you think your opponent has fallen asleep at the wheel. Oh baby, come on! Stretch! Stretch! You can put it on the board! Yes! That's one for the good guys! A long fly ball to left field by Chris Carter jumps the Stros out to a 1-0 lead, and that's good enough for me to control given my opponent's bad base running mistakes himself. If I can manage my missed locations effectively, the most he should scrape by is a double in the gap. Keep him in the yard. That's the strategy. Jam him up and in and pitch soft away. Those are the keys to victory. All about the execution of the strategy and the pitches. But on the flip side, my opponent seems to have stretched out the zone for himself now, working the knees heavily as he drops in 2 beautiful sliders on JD Martinez. He's really giving me reason to keep chasing those pitches down. It's actually kind of unfair given the breaks on those things are hard to pick up and just have such a sharp bite to them. Extremely deceptive. But that's okay. If I can continue to locate my pitches, change up speeds and locations, keep him off balance, I should be fine in the long run. I don't need to have the best pitcher on the rubber to beat my opponents. I just need to grasp the breaks of my pitches, gauge what their confidence is going to do to the location of the pitch, make my adjustments, and hit the spots I intend to hit. And that's what it all comes down to. The pitcher doesn't completely matter if you know what you're doing. Spot your locations and you can win any game. It's a chess battle. It's all about outthinking your opponent, keeping them from gauging where the next pitch will be and at what speed. Keeping them guessing and off balance is the path to victory. But having sharp breaking stuff that has a late break to it can also help, as my opponent has demonstrated throughout this game. All you can do is keep to your strategy, even when it gets frustrating. Like this battle with Jimmy Rollins. He's really fighting off a lot of out pitches here, wearing me down to throw any old junk over the heart of the plate. But I'm not budging. He's already got to look at the last slider. Another one low and away should result in the out I've been grinding for. Wait, did Tyler Green really hold on to that grounder? On Rollins' speed? Great! He gets a man on via the infield single, extending this inning even further. Now I've got to deal with Utley with a man on and no outs. A bunt? I'll take what you're giving me. Oh no, this is foolish. Why did I allow him to bait me on that errant throw to third? This isn't 2K, Jarrett. There is no base running exploit to worry about. Now I've given him a free base with 1 out and Eric Kratz coming to the plate. Could I possibly fuck this up any harder than I already have? Well, the good news is I'm still stretching out that zone. The bad news is anything put into play will bring that run across. I'm essentially already setting my mindset back to the first inning. A tie ball game, and my having to grind him out to raise his pitch count. And there it is, the long fly ball to the warning track that'll bring Rollins across to knot this game back up. A terrible defensive inning from me results in my first error of my show career and the first run I surrendered in online play. And the way my opponent is pitching, I'm going to have a tough time getting him to serve up another meatball. But I'm still going to try and scratch across the runs on small ball. But my base running is really bad, mostly in due part to my lack of knowledge on the buttons. That's the drawback to buying the game off of the PlayStation Store's digital download. No manual to refer to. Still, that's no excuse. I could have just practiced more. And I could pay more attention at first when taking such big leads. Hey Swami! Take notes! This guy didn't just span the pickoff, he's only thrown over twice all game long, and he's been successful both times. With a righty! After cleaning up Altuve with a knee-high curve, we jump into the top of the 7th inning where a struggling JD Martinez looks to avoid his third strikeout of the game with 2 outs already notched up in Halladay's favor. Again, MLJ 1978 is working heavily on keeping his pitches down to induce ground balls, but with Halladay's sick-looking sweeping curve, it's really hard to tell if it's going to drop out of the zone at the last second or just catch the bottom half. But as soon as I say that, I swing over the top of another curveball out of the zone, and JD Martinez now wears the golden sombrero. I told you this would be a battle. Bottom of the 7th and the game is still knotted up, and both starting pitchers are still hurling? That's a duel, my friends. Howard hits a hard grounder up the middle that Green has just enough range to cover up, but wisely decides to stuff that throw in his back pocket. That was a tough play regardless of the hitter's speed. So enter in Lance Nix, who's collected 2 singles on the day. The toughest bet in the lineup to try and get an out on throughout this entire game. Well, there it is. The mistake pitch I knew was coming, but was hoping he'd fail to capitalize upon. A middle-in fastball floats back over the heart of the plate and becomes a sizable T-ball shot. Norris was starting to miss his locations wide, but with that home run, it's time to start warming up the pen and turning the ball over to the relievers to keep this one close. Sizing up the lineup, I'll be tasking Sergio Escalona and Sam Demmel to face off against their respective matchups. In the meantime, Norris will have to buy them some time to get ready. First sign of trouble, and he's catching the hook. I'm not about to let this lead balloon. But again, going back to the well hurts me as Ben Revere rips that high fastball over Altuve's head into the gap in right center field. A poor attempt to cut it off at the track by Martinez gives MLJ the idea for 3, but the relay throw back in is strong enough and accurate enough to tag him up at third. And now the countdown begins, 4 outs away from MLJ 1978 claiming his first online victory and handing me my first online loss. 2 outs in the top of the 8th and Matt Dominguez is charged with starting up the rally to keep this inning alive. That slider at the knees is just too tough a pitch to do anything with. And now he's 3 outs away from locking this one up and throwing away the key. Bottom half and he's bringing in John Mayberry Jr. off the bench to help extend this lead. Shame he was first pitch swinging on that slider middle out because it harmlessly falls into Justin Maxwell's glove. Norris continues to deal, and why not keep him in there against Jimmy Rollins? He's placed him in handcuffs all day, getting him to extend the strike zone all the way in the other batter's box. He's trying so hard to do something with Jimmy, and it's working to my favor. He's not going to put up a single run here the way he's approached this at bat. Without Rollins on the bases, I don't have to worry too much about my approach with Utley. Despite his energy being low, Norris has only tossed 89 pitches this game, 70% of which were strikes. Not a bad day at the office. A fastball high and tight on Rollins' wrist results in an easy grounder to the former AL Gold Glover Carlos Pena, who tags up the bag himself to record the second out of the inning. That out would do it for Norris' day. 7 2/3 innings pitched, with 3 runs coming across and 8 hits would be his line. Time to bring in Escalona for the favorable lefty-on-lefty matchup, which only requires 1 pitch to record the out on a screaming liner to Pena down the first base line. And with a 2-run lead in the top of the 9th, MLJ turns the ball over to the Phillies closer, Jonathan Papelbon. I'm going to have to turn to my shallow bench for a pinch hitter here to take over for the 9-hole spot that's going to be leading off the inning. Any day now. What the deuce? Did my PS3 already catch the yellow light? You've got to be kidding me! Not like this! By God, don't let it end like this! Not like this! can kindly go fuck yourself, Sony. With a large Lego block dildo. Well, that's disappointing. I don't mind losing a game like that one to a skilled opponent. We both battled and opportunities were had to swing the game either way, but upon firing up the show again, I came to realize that the game didn't count for my records. Officially, I'm still to pop my online cherry, 0-0. But let's all agree to chalk that up as a loss on my part. And though MLJ 1978 never responded to my message, I'm going to send him the link to this video and hope that at some point we'll meet back on that diamond for another go. Dude deserves a win over me for this matchup, but I owe him a beating for this game. Roy Halladay, we're coming for you!